Michael Quam, welcome to Tech Trends.
Thank you.
So tell me, Michael, what do you think are the challenges of online payment in Nigeria?
There are various challenges facing us in Nigeria and rest of Africa, but I will just summarize into three. The first one is the fraud, perceived fraud, high-level fraud within the online community in terms of payment. The second one is the network issue. Then the third one is the lack of education. I think the card and people in the payment system needs to educate the public about the security of online, because in my opinion, I actually believe online transactions is more secure than carrying a wad of cash around Lagos or around Accra. So that's my view.
Yeah, but you just talked about the issue of fraud. How should we deal with that?
The level of fraud in terms of percentage of transaction online is less than 5%. So if you
in Nigeria or all over the world?
In all over the world, but when we segment it into regional, the level of fraud is perceived level of fraud. No statistics being collated to actually inform us, which is some of the issues we face in Africa, in order to educate ourselves how to deal with some of these perceived challenges and real challenges. But Mr. Quam will be able to expand on this problem.
Let's look at security issues online. How can we deal with this as regards online payment?
Dealing with security in online payments in Nigeria requires several steps. At the moment, it's safe to assume that Nigerian payment processors are quite evolved when we compare them what we have out there. But then there's still a very long way to go. Each player in the market is still very cautious. There's a serious need for collaboration. Very cautious of each other, especially when we look at it from the angle of competition. So the exchange of information is still very, regulated, as in very minute. But we need to have an ecosystem. We need to create an ecosystem that encourages this and that allows a shared database. That's very, very crucial when we're looking at the issue of security. And then we also need to develop indigenous developers. We need to encourage the tribe of indigenous developers, especially in this part of the country, because most payment processors have to bring in developers from other parts of the world. And the effect of that is that it affects the response time when we have security challenges, as we have to bring in expatriates all the time. And also the issue of the recent introduction of the BVN is quite commendable, but we still need a system like the social security number system that is going to link every man to every information on that person. That's going to allow us to tackle security the way we should. So with the introduction of a shared database amongst all players in the payments industry and the social security number combined with the BVN, I believe we'll be where we should be.
One of the challenges that a lot of startups have is how to collect money online. Now, PayPal came into the country. PayPal would allow you pay money, but you can't receive money locally. And this is affecting a lot of startup founders. What do you think we should be doing at this point?
Well, I think this is where we reign, if I may say, in Vogue Pay, because we on the side, we believe that we want to develop our society. We should be encouraging businesses to be able to receive foreign currencies in order to grow their business, not creating an environment where there's been not only brain drained, capital flight. We are giving a lot of business at Vogue Pay here capacity to collect both local payment and international payment. I think too often people overlook SMEs because they look at them thinking, well, they haven't proved their business yet. We feel that we want to give them a technological and financial department to manage their payment in terms of collection and in terms of settlement and reconciliation. I don't blame, well, I would say if I'm looking at it from international perspective, PayPal will do what will better where PayPal is situated, which is not Nigeria, it's an American company. We Nigerians, we have to do what we encourage our society to do.
But do you think there should be a regulation for such kind of arrangements?
Oh, I think we should, all of us, we all have responsibility to educate some of our regulative bodies about some of this information, because we live in Nigeria, there's too many challenges, and at times these little things matters a lot to ordinary small businesses, that because it put them at disadvantage. Because if you can have someone in Nigeria paying someone in New York, you should have someone in New York paying someone in Nigeria. The problem in Nigeria is everyone trying to be their own soldier and their own fighter. Whereas to get the best out of this society, we all need to have a collective approach to things. It reflects a Vogue Pay. That's how we do things. All the people you see here, we work like a family. I'm sure we have our disagreement. I'm sure we have our politics. But we always believe that we should always champion businesses both in Nigeria and in Africa. That is our view.
So, Quam, do you think that EPAN as an association is doing enough in this regards? Allowing PayPal to continue with this policy, or should something else be done to change this?
EPAN, at the moment, I am aware, is advocating with the CBN on behalf of payment processors. EPAN is advocating with the CBN to make sure that the right guidelines, the right policies are in place, to make sure that the enabling conditions are created, and that the issue of the shared database we mentioned the other time, is brought to the fore and encouraged amongst each player in the payment processing field. So for the EPAN, I think they are contributing enough at the moment, but there's always a room, to do more. There's always more that the EPAN can contribute in this area. But in terms of enforcement, it is not for the EPAN to enforce. Remember, EPAN is just the Payment Providers Association of Nigeria, given the mandate by the CBN to champion this cause. So while they bring everybody together, advocate and represent the interest of everybody, they might not be able to enforce or to apply strict guidelines like the CBN will be able to do, but then they can recommend. In the area of recommending, I think they still have a fair good amount of work to do, and the CBN really has to give a list.
I'm interested to know how you were able to cope as a 5-man founding team. That's a lot. Partnership is actually a big issue locally here, a lot of places all over the world as well. How have you been able to do it?
We are the example of what happened, what can happen, the potential, a tip of the iceberg of the potential what could happen in Africa when people work together. Yes, we have our politics between. I'm sure at times we want to walk away from each other, but what put us together is stronger than what we disagree on. We're a coalition of all talent, and we leverage on those equity in terms of the best of each other. We respect each other. Well, most importantly, we trust each other implicitly in business, and that's how we manage to move so far.
So Quam, from experience, yes.
If you ask me, I think it's easier to put 5 people together with different expertise, to work together as a team, function as a colony, and hit the target than with 2 people. It will be very difficult for you to have checks and balances on the politics you are going to have between 2 people. So I think for 5.
For you, I'd like to know, what do you think we can do going forward to strengthen the online payment ecosystem in general, which includes every other player, because that's the future. The future is to get more Nigerians online to transact. So what can we do to do this?
From our point of view, apart from educating about the risk factor of transacting online. The way we can safeguard the market is actually to have to have almost like an association where a central point where we share information of fraudulent transactions, because we protect. If someone have been on one platform, have used a card fraudulently, that should trigger, and that person it should trigger around the ring, so that person know that going to the next person will not happen. We are trying to facilitate that. We're constantly engaging with both international bodies and local bodies to try and find a way where we can have a central point where we can protect everyone. Of course, the Master and Visa card have their own secure code and authentication code. From our side, we have various technology. We will know whether it's you that you type in there or not. So we have our own parameter how the security we put in place. But I think ultimately, if we can have a ring point, so when someone hits something, it just goes around in circle, that it effectively terminate that transaction, and that person won't be able to use anywhere. That's what I see as a first approach in my.
Okay, Quam, in winding down, what tips, what advice would you leave for other startups based on your experience, having done this for 3-4 years now?
Well, for startups, I think a lot of attention, needs to be given to, grooming the new startups coming up. They need a lot of training, mentoring, and at the same time, if we're looking at a startup, involving more than one person, where there is more than one owner involved, then trust really matters. Trust cannot be compromised. It takes time, it takes a lot of sweat, but then with the right type of dedication and with the right type of commitment, we will get there. We have a very unique society, and there's always opportunities all of the time, and we must be able to look at these opportunities and strike when the time is right. There is no particular time when the time is right. The time is always right. As I always say, if the right conditions are not there, we must create it so that we can move forward.
All right, Mike, I want to thank you so much for being on Tech Test today.
So much. Thank you.
And Quam, thank you for being on Tech Test today.
Thank you very much.
Have you guys come back here, share more about this for us in future. It's a wrap on today's edition of the show, but the conversation continues online. Remember, you can watch these and previous editions of the show on the channel's TV YouTube account or via my blog, techsmart.ng. For Tech Trends, I am Chukwuemeka Agbata.